I got on the train in Chicago, and the train was a very routine ride. It was a beautiful day, just like today. It was beautiful, and we were just enjoying the trip. And then suddenly the train derailed, and it was a bad derailment. The train separated, and several of the cars flipped on their sides.
What were you doing at the time?
I just returned to my sleeping car, which was up near the front of the train, and that train car did not derail. But I went up there to get my recharger for my phone because I knew we were getting close to Glacier National Park, and I wanted to make sure that the thing didn't run out of battery power before I got to the park. So I just got back to the car and had just plugged in my phone, and then that's when the derailment happened.
What did you hear? What did you feel? What happened?
Well, never been in a derailment before. It's a big jolt, and then that's followed by the train obviously off the tracks. You could feel the wheels going through the stone, a lot of noise, a lot of dust, and then the train slowly started to tip. And I've seen train derailments in the other places. I've never experienced one, but usually they just, they derail and they tilt a little bit and the train stops. But this kept going and got to 45 degrees, and then I was sure it was going to stop, but then it kept on going beyond that, and it actually rolled all the way over. And at that point, there was like a coffee table in the lounge car that was bolted to the floor, and so I grabbed a hold of that to hold myself up because I was worried the windows were going to break out, and I didn't want to use those as a brace. So I'm hanging. I wound up, after the car went on its side, now that the table is, instead of the table being vertical, it's horizontal now. I'm holding on to that. My legs are dangling down, and about 2 feet under me are the windows, which should be the side windows, but now they're the floor, and they're breaking out from all the ballast hitting them. And then about 2 feet below that, you can see all the ballast rushing by because the train hadn't stopped yet. We were going at track speed, which I understand is 79 miles an hour. That's normal. I mean, this track is a beautiful track too, and so it takes a while to stop. It seemed like 2 minutes, but it actually was probably 15 seconds, And a lot of dust. Dust came in through the windows, almost like a smoke, like a fog almost. And everybody's just kind of in shock because just a moment before everything was just beautiful. People were taking pictures, and it was just a beautiful day. Mountains were
there a
standing
lot of screaming and hollering? And
No, not really. No, most of that, there wasn't a lot of that. I think most people were just like busy trying to grasp onto something, but then afterwards there were a lot of people calling out to if people were hurt. There were a few people that were on the ground, not on the ground, they were on the windows, which was now the floor of the car. And I helped with that, and many other people did too. And we actually, because the windows had broken out, that's how we escaped. We got out between the ground and the windows. There was about that much space, so you could get out underneath there. And we were a little hesitant to do that first too, because we wanted to be sure that the train wasn't going to continue to roll. If it had continued to roll, past horizontal, we could have gotten squashed like bugs, but it didn't move. It was well embedded in the stone by that point.
So the car you were in, it rolled on the side?
Yeah, that was the lounge car. It's the one with all the glass. It's the place to be if you're traveling by train. I mean, I spend my day there. The glass starts at your beautiful chairs that are designed to see the vistas, and the glass starts at your knees and goes all the way up into the ceiling. It's not the place to be for a derailment, but other than that, it's a fabulous facility.
That's where you were at. How far back is the glass car from the main?
From the engine?
Uh-huh.
Well, there's 2 engines in a baggage car, and then let's see, 3 sleepers and a coach car, and that was then we were after that, so it'd be about 5 or 6 cars back.
How many cars are on the train? Do you know?
I think there were about 10 altogether.
Okay.
Behind the lounge, there would have been 2 more coaches, and the Portland sleeper. The Empire Builder splits at Spokane, Washington, and the big part of it goes to Seattle. The lesser part goes down the Columbia River Gorge to Portland.
That's where you were headed. So.
Well, that's where I was headed, but I had tried to get into the Portland sleeper, wasn't able to do that because it was sold out, and so they put me in the transition sleeper, which is the one at the very front of the train, where the front half of that is where the crew actually lives, and then the back half of that they sell.
So you were in the lounge car when it happened.
Yeah, that was my room, but I just walked back there to take pictures. So yeah, that's where I am most of the day. I'm in the lounge car. I don't know. The only time I'm in my sleeper is at night when I sleep.
How many people were there?
In the lounge car with me? Not that many at that particular moment. I guess maybe 10 or 12.
Did you think you were going to die?
I knew that. I was pretty sure that if I didn't hold on to that table and if I dropped through that broken window, I would have at least been severely hurt. I'm pretty sure of that. Yeah. I mean, during a derailment, there's a lot of.
Did you see a lot of injured people?
Did see some people that were injured, not too severely where I was. Mostly just people that were kind of in shock, and people who had cuts and bruises.
Broken bones and
Yeah, probably did have some broken bones. The worst injuries were back. The last 3 cars of the train detached when our lounge car rolled over, and then the other 3 cars detached, and they were back the track probably a quarter of a mile, and all 3 of those rolled over on their sides too.
The three last cars.
3 last cars.
So you were in number 6 or 7.
Yeah, I was 4 from the back. Ours rolled over too, but ours stuck with the front half of the train, whereas their last 3 detached, and so they were farther back by the time we stopped.
Where did the deceased? Where were they at?
I don't know for sure, but I've heard, it's hearsay, so I did not really a source of information, but I understand they were back towards those last 3 cars.
And the last 3 cars tipped over.
Yeah,
And they were about a quarter mile from.
back to the track.
So things were going smooth, and all of a sudden it
Yeah.
just boom.
Yeah, even though Amtrak will get a black eye for this, I doubt if it. Well, I'm no expert, but I don't think it was the train. I think it was the track.
I was going to say, with your knowledge of
That's
train
BNSF.
travel, what would
Yeah.
you assume? What would you possibly?
I mean, this
would
advice is
cause
worth
this?
0, but I mean, it happened right by a switch, and that is notorious if there's anything dragging,
Right.
or even if the switch isn't correct,
Yeah.
that switches have caused derailments for
You've been on
100
this,
years.
You've been on this train many times, and several other trains.
I've been on every train Amtrak has.
Okay. How many train rides have you had in your life? you
Oh
think?
my goodness, I've been riding Amtrak since 1974.
Hundreds?
Over 100,000 miles, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm an avid train rider. And I'm an example of how rare this is. I've never experienced anything like this in my life. All those miles, and I still will continue to travel by
Were
train.
there people? Did it throw people from the car out on the side of the track?
That I did not see, but I've heard that did happen, but I didn't see that.
The
So
last 3 cars.
probably, yeah.
So,
I didn't see it in my car.
Right. So there were 10 cars on the train.
If you cut the baggage car, that's 1, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 baggage, 10 cars.
10
yeah,
cars.
Yeah.
And you were in car
Mine would be
6?
7.
7th.
Yeah,
And that's the lounge car.
that's the lounge car.
So the first 2 are the engine.
And then a baggage. And then
4
the
would be-
transition sleeper, which is half of that's crew, half of that is passengers. Then a full passenger car.
That's 5.
Another full passenger
6.
car. Then the door. Now let's see. That would be then a coach. That's the unusual part. No, a diner, then a coach, then a lounge.
Diner, coach, lounge.
Yeah, and
the
then
last 3
and that's
are-
where it broke. And then the last 3 were 2 coaches and a sleeping car at the end. That was the Portland sleeping car,
Okay, so
which is the one
You
I was
were-
trying to get into, but I couldn't
Right.
because it was sold out.
which is good then, huh?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've escaped one?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it probably wouldn't have mattered because even though there were definitely injured people in there and then some of the people were trapped, I wouldn't have been in there anyway. I always spend the day in the lounge car, so I wouldn't have been there regardless. But
You didn't see any deceased people?
no,
Okay.
no.
Anything else?
Yeah. So after you managed to escape from the damaged carriage, and obviously that it's quite a chaotic scene. How quickly would you say that emergency services were on scene?
Considering what a remote location it was, really not bad. I would guess it would be 12 or 15 minutes. But I mean, we were, I don't know, like 20 miles from just about anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful wheat fields to the horizon, and this is a remote part of Montana, which is a fairly remote state anyway. So, we're.
Absolutely.
we were-
But a sizable response.
Oh
considering,
yeah, yeah. You could hear the ambulances coming, and there also were. I should point this out too. There were just citizens that happened to be driving down the road that came to help, volunteers, not official.
You've taken the same route several times.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you got off and when you got out the window, what sort of injuries did you see people? Did you see a lot of people who were bloody or?
There was one gentleman who had he was bleeding from his mouth and it looked pretty bad, but he said that actually he had bit his tongue and that's what caused that. So, I didn't see, mostly just
shock.
helped older people that, you know, the train was up on an embankment at the time, which is probably a blessing that it didn't continue to roll, because if it had gone much further, it could have. I mean, it's further down, and they couldn't walk down the hill.
Right.
So we were helping them walk down the hill to get away from the train. We were afraid at that point that it might continue to roll on the
So your
people.
car was completely off the tracks?
Oh yeah,
On the side?
it's laying on its glass on the windows on the side. Yeah, the wheels were completely exposed on the left
On
side.
the other side?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we do? 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm starting to